The Sermon on the Mount, or The Key to Christianity. An interpretation by Pekka Ervast. 16. False prophets. Matt 7:12. All things therefore whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, even so do ye also unto them, for this is the law and the prophets. 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. 16. By their fruits ye shall know them. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? 17. Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but the corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. 18. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. 20. Therefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Why have you moved verse 12w to the side of verse 15, placing it under the heading of false prophets? For the sake of the association of ideas. The act of seeking has no immediate connection with that ancient rule so ably expressed by Confucius in his time, whatever you would that men should do unto you, even so do you unto them. But it has a very immediate mental connection with the sentence concerning the false prophets, which connection is distinctly pointed out by the closing words, for this is the law and the prophets. When the disciple has clearly understood the meaning of the law and the prophets, he is able to beware, that is, to criticize and shun the company of false prophets. Jesus says that false prophets shall be known by their fruits. Is not that a sufficient criticism? Undoubtedly, but tell me, please, by what fruits? Probably by their own life, its immorality, etc. Do you think so? Jesus expressly states that false prophets come to you in sheep's clothing. A sheep can hardly be taken as the prototype of immorality or evil in general. I am sure that false prophets usually bewitch their victims by their moral superiority. Immoral and evil characters would hardly gain any large following, seeing that few real and sincere truth-seekers would ever be dazzled by the charms of immorality and evil-doing. But who, then, are the false prophets? And how can the morally superior possibly be false prophets? Let us first inquire into the significance of the word prophet. The Greek word prophets means soothsayer, interpreter of oracles, proclaimed divinely inspired seer or knower. False prophets reads in the original text, pseudoprophets, which literally means pseudo-prophet, false interpreter, falsely inspired seer, lying augur. There is no secondary sense suggestive of immorality added to the Greek word. It means simply a proclaimer of false doctrines or false prophecies. Perhaps the false prophet himself is not always conscious of his wrong teaching. Perhaps he thinks he sees quite right. But Jesus says, "By their fruits ye shall know them." By what fruits? Now you understand, by their false prophecies and teachings, by their false visions and fancied knowledge. But this way we shall fall once again into the dreadful gulf of orthodoxy. That is just the explanation of the churches. For if we do not adhere to some definite orthodox teaching, how shall we be able to know which teaching is wrong? That is just why Jesus has given us his standard of truth. And that standard or high criterion is of a moral nature, just as your instinct, like that of all men, is telling you. That morality, however, has nothing to do with the personal life of the prophet, only with his teaching. This is shown by Jesus quoting the ancient ethical rule. Is the teaching of the prophet, in all its details and consequences, in conformity with the law of life and the message of all true prophets? If so, then it is right; if not, the teaching is wrong. The prophetical message of Jesus is the nearest and highest one. It reveals to us the heart and conscience of man in its most deep and beautiful purity. Thus, if any prophetical teaching is not consistent with, for instance, the 5 commandments of Jesus, it reveals itself as false and wrong. It does not reach the moral height unveiled by Jesus in his words, his personality, and his life. And why should we recede in time? Why should things long since passed by be prophetically reproclaimed? A prophet should be ahead of, not behind, the times. His message should either be ethically consistent with the teaching of Jesus, or surpass it. And in no case whatsoever should he diverge from the immemorial rule that to others should be done only that which he would have others do to himself. If a prophet, for instance, defends warfare, as it was natural to do in bygone times, he must be willing to receive in his own person all the cruelty brought about by war. For this reason Jesus declares that false prophets, although unconsciously, are inwardly ravening wolves. They bring destruction along with them. Their teaching, dazzling at first by its brightness, secretly poisons in the long run. Why have you omitted the verse, "Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down, and cast into the fire"? Because it is not logically necessary, containing as it does a new thought. I am sure it has been added to the text afterwards. Some copyist of the Middle Ages happened to think of hell, and decided benevolently that that place was rather suitable for false prophets. We had better omit the verse altogether, for it can easily instigate to evil, and has done so.